Welcome to Stamped, our monthly series on the Global Travel Planning Podcast, where one traveller, 10 questions, and a world of stories come together. Hi, and welcome to the Global Travel Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Collins, who, with my expert guests, will take you on a weekly journey to destinations around the globe, providing travel inspiration, itinerary ideas, practical tips, and more to help you plan your next travel adventure. Hi, I'm Tracy, and welcome to episode 68 of the Global Travel Planning Podcast. Today's episode is part of Stamped, our special monthly series where we invite one traveller to answer 10 questions that reveal the stories, experiences, and lessons behind their love of travel. This time, I'm joined by Mandy Watson, a returning guest and longtime friend of the podcast. You may recognise her from earlier episodes on both the UK and Global Travel Planning podcasts. She's also the writer behind the fabulous travel blog Spending Kids' Inheritance, where she shares tales of adventure, midlife travel, and making the most of every moment. I loved hearing her answers to the stamped questions, from first trips and unforgettable experience to what's still on her bucket list. So let's get started.
Right, well, hey, my name's Mandy Watson, and my husband Trevor and I have been going gangbusters, travelling as much as we can in recent years. I started young, I started when I was 18 or so, and then I guess family life gets in the way and you start breeding and being at home with the kids and stuff. But now that we're free, pretty much empty nesters, and it's our goal in life is just to keep travelling, keep finding new places to go, and keep spending the kids' inheritance, because it's not their money yet, it's ours. Hence, I did start my own website of travelling for people to get inspired for spendingkidsinheritance.com. That's me. And it's a cracker of a theme. And we're doing our very best to live up to it.
You certainly are. I have to say, Mandy, you certainly are. Every time I speak to you, I say, where are you going off to next?
Love it.
And I know you're going away soon, so tell us where you're heading to next.
Yes. In just over 3 weeks we leave. We're going to Alaska and Canada and a bit of the USA. We've got a few friends in the US to catch up with after our little Canada-Alaska sojourn. And my brother and his partner are joining us for the cruise and a bit of a land-based tour around Alaska, which will be great because he's older than me, and it's the first time, I think, since we were children growing up that I would have spent 3 weeks with him, and I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. He's got a worse sense of humour than me.
Oh, God. I hate to think. I'll have to catch up with you afterwards. Honestly, we'll have to have a chat all about that trip. But yes. I'm so glad you volunteered to come on to Stamped. So this is kind of me interrogating you with 10 questions all about your travel life, because I'm sure you've got some fantastic stories and memories to tell. So shall we dive into the first question?
Definitely.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, Mandy. Who lit the spark? Who or what inspired your love of travel?
Well, it was my softball coach when I was in my teens. He had traversed Africa from Cape Town to Cairo overland in the 1970s, and he even went hunting with the pygmies of the Congo. And his stories were just wild, crazy border crossings. And he tried climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but altitude sickness, all the capillaries in his face started to burst, and he was set down. And from that moment, I thought, bugger that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. So it wasn't until my 40th year that I did Kilimanjaro, and I summited. And I took a part of him in my heart, although I don't know where he is anymore and no contact, but I always have thought of him, and I just took him to the top with me, and I thought, I'll look at this view for you. So he really lit the spark, and Kilimanjaro just became number one on my bucket list back in 2007 I did that, and then just been cracking on ever since.
It's amazing, isn't it, how those stories, those early things that with that kind of lit that spark that kind of inspired our travel. I mean, for me, it was I used to read all the books by Gerald Durrell, and so I just wanted to go to Jersey Zoo, and I only just did that last year, age 57. So there's that spark can be there, but that kind of ultimate destination that kind of lit it. In your case, Kilimanjaro. It's such an amazing moment to actually achieve it, isn't it?
It was when I got to the top, we were so completely and utterly knackered with altitude sickness, and one of our girls had collapsed and was raced down the mountain, and she nearly died, and it was really full on, and I just broke down and sobbed it was body racking sobs of relief and joy, and it was incredible, and you could see the curve of the earth up there. It was just remarkable.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about your passport journey. So where did it begin? What was the first country that you ever visited?
Right. Well, first country was as a child. I went to New Zealand with my mum because she was a Kiwi and went over to visit family. But back in the 70s, you didn't even need a passport to travel between Australia and New Zealand. So that doesn't count as my first passport stamp. So it was more like a family trip. So I think my first major trip comes into the next question, I think.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't get a stamp, but we'll count New Zealand as we'll count it as your first country that you went to. Yes. So the next question, and that segues very neatly into this one. So the first trip that really felt like an adventure. Right.
Well, I was 18, and this is with my friend that had inspired me with his Africa and Kilimanjaro. He was a partnership in a travel agency then. I decided to do a 6-month trip halfway around the world at the age of 18. I'd left school, saved up buckets of money, and headed off blindly. Got a Circle Pacific airfare that just sort of went round through Asia and then through the United States and home via Hawaii. But I got over to the east coast of America and realised back in those days it was only $200 to get a cheap flight to London. So I did that, bought a Kentucky tour and did a Kentucky tour of Great Britain. And then all hell broke loose after that because I had a maxed out credit card. I ran out of money, something fierce. And I remember my mum once said to me, "Don't ever forget the Salvation Army, dear." And I went, "Oh, don't be ridiculous." And I'm thinking, "Oh, I think that's looking pretty good, the old salvos." I had all my airfares booked and paid for to come home, but I was in London sleeping on the floor of a friend's room, as you do when you're 18. And I got kicked out because they found out. And so I'm walking down to Earl's Court, because that's where I heard all the Aussies were, at 10 o'clock at night with all my bags. Here I am, 18, didn't know where I was going, no money. I found a hostel. And in those days, you could use your credit card, the old you do the swipe across. And if it didn't reach their limit, you could do a purchase, right? So I made sure all my purchases were like under $60. So I sort of went into a bunk bed for the night, and then I begged a travel agent to try to get my airfares changed to get home. So all they could do was change my airfare from Hawaii down to, I was flying in on a Saturday morning, and I just wanted to stay at the airport and fly straight home. I had nothing left, absolutely nothing. And they said, "No, but we can get you on a midnight flight Sunday night. So you got one night to spend in Hawaii." So, okay, I can do this. I had $25 left. And I knew it was $5 to get into Waikiki. So I'm traveling on the $5 bus to Waikiki. And I started talking to a German girl, and we ended up sharing a room and both just getting on the local bus and getting sailors to buy us a drink. And I think at the end of it, I actually got back to the airport on the Sunday night. I had $1 left, $1. And the big bloke out the front helped me get my bags in. I mean, I had so much luggage because I bought so much stuff, which is why I ran out of money. And anyway, he carried my bags in as a good porter, and then he stood there with his hand out expecting a tip. And us Australians, we were not really into tipping back in those days, and I didn't know. And I had $1 left, and I was in tears. I went, "I haven't got any money." And he nearly took it all the way out. And this is midnight, and I was just so exhausted, and he didn't. Oh, thank God. So I've still got that dollar note. I still kept it, and I made it home. It was miraculous to get home. And I think now, kids don't move out till they're 30. And look what we do at 18, running around London with my bags at 10 o'clock at night with not a quid to my name.
And we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have any of the. No, my mum never knew where I was. She never knew what continent I was on. It was hilarious. I'd phone her up and say, "Where are you now?" And it really was an adventure, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, some was fun, some was devastatingly hard. But I think there was a few tears. And I used to write a journal, and I had just stopped because it was just too depressing. But I did make it home, and I definitely. I was always been an independent kind of person, but that really put the big girl pants on me. And from there, I knew I could do anything. Traveling alone never be a problem. Just go. So, and then
you do.
Yeah, yeah.
You do.
So Trevor and I, we met when I was 21. So, and then we were off to America within a year or so traveling. So he loves it as well. So I've met my kindred spirit.
And that's perfect. You've been together a long time as well, so
we have, yeah.
You know, so in those many decades, I'm not going to say how many you've been together.
37 years we've been together.
Wow, I mean that is amazing. So congratulations on that. Doug and I are 20 something, I think now.
20 something.
So you've been lots and lots and lots and lots of amazing places in the world, but can you describe one place or moment? And I know this is a really hard question, but something that just completely blew you away.
Yes, this is something that I told you about and you wrote it down. You went, I'm going to do this. Was the Great Migration of the wildebeest on the Maasai Mara. So we did that in 2019. So we got that trip in prior to COVID, which was good. And it was just incredible. We did a fly-in, fly-out camp where when you land in this little tiny 20-seater plane, they shoo away the animals on the dirt landing strip just so you can land. And it was just incredible. And the August, September is just the best time because that's when they migrate up from Tanzania. And we were in a Jeep one day, you know, in your 4x4, just waiting for a crossing. For a couple of days, you were just, you know, you're following the herd. They go to the river and there's like BBC, National Geo cameras set up in various spots because they know where they cross. They film it all the time. And, you know, you get a couple of false starts. And so about on the second day of this one, our guide said, they're going to cross. They're thirsty. They need a drink and they're going to cross. And it was just so exciting because you get there and park and wait and they'll all come down. They're coming down with thousands of, wildebeest, but thousands of zebras as well. And but in the water, you've got hippos, you've got crocodiles, you've got lions on point, and then you've got the marabou stork and the vultures. It's just amazing. And then they'll turn around and go back and go, oh, they haven't done it. They just spook and they all run away. So we were just paused up, you know, probably about a kilometre away from the river, and then we saw this big plume of dust, and our driver just said, they're going to cross, they're crossing. So we hightailed it across the plain and we got onto the dirt track. At the same time, we marry up to where they were running in a stampede, and we come up the side because we had to be on the road, and they are on the side next to us, and we've got an open top Jeep. So I'm standing up filming it, and we were in the cloud of dust. We had their snorting and their hoof prints, you know, just their thundering hooves. And we were in the stampede for a minute, and then we sort of veered off around the corner to get to our spot by the river, and then watched them all come down and sort of put on the brakes, and then they crossed. And we saw zebra get taken by crocodiles. As much as it breaks my heart because I'm a horse owner, it's the circle of life, you know. A month later, they'd cross and the crocodiles wouldn't even touch them because they've got a full belly. But we watched probably just about 2,000 cross at that time, and 3 were taken. So, you know, it's a good chance of making it across. So that was exciting. That was just a wow moment, just an Attenborough moment. And I love those things. We just love nature over humans.
Planning a trip to London, if you're looking for tours that are well organised, full of interesting stories and a pleasure to take part in, I can't recommend Walks and Devour tours enough. I've done several myself, from famous landmarks to amazing food tours, and every single one has been a real highlight. Their guides are great storytellers who make the city feel alive. The team really cares about the details and puts a lot of thought into making each experience feel special, comfortable and full of those "I'm so glad I did this" moments. You can find all my favourite tours at uktravelplanner.com/best London tours. And I know when you talked to me about this last time, I had the same reaction. I get goosebumps because this is something that is so high on my want-to-do list. And I hoped to do it last year and didn't get a chance. And I'm not sure about next year, what we're doing August, September. But as soon as I can, it is absolutely one that I desperately want to do.
And as long as you get there in August, you will see it. And if you're going to go to Africa, go at that time if you can and see that. If you go down to South Africa, you're not going to see it. You got to get up to Kenya. It's just incredible.
Exactly.
loved
Well,
it.
high on my list to do. I guess the next question is a bit of, well, it's kind of the opposite, is rather is there any place that you visited once but you haven't felt the need to return to?
We're very glass, not even half full. We're full overflowing. We love everything. But there'll be some times where things can be a little bit difficult. So in 2017, we took our kids who were 21 and 18 to China. And that was an experience. It was great to go there. It was great to see the wall and, the usual places that they take you there, because there's only usual places you're allowed to go there. And but the thing was that we had to sleep at the airport because of delayed flights and cancelled flights on the way over and on the way back. The moment there's a drop of rain, they just cancel everything. And it was just a nightmare. The airports were crap, and the sleeping. Our kids were just had to sleep international at an airport for the first time. It was their first big trip. I'd never done that. I've never had to sleep at an airport before, and it was just hard work. And as much as we really enjoyed it, and we really enjoyed the people over there, it was fascinating country. We've done it, and there's plenty more to see. People could say the same about Russia, but Russia was fascinating, and I'd love to go back. And one day, I'm glad we got to see Russia, but that's not I wouldn't go back there. I would spend a whole 3 days in the Hermitage Museum. Just incredible, absolutely incredible. But China, I think we touched on it, and that's probably just enough for us. And it's not like a place that you can just go backpacking.
No,
you can't even get on Google. You can't even, there's no social media. You can't Google anything. It's just so still behind an iron curtain in a way. But I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad our kids saw it. And but that's the only one. Everywhere else has just been fantastic.
I think, you're right. You go with that kind of attitude of, let's embrace what we come across, because you don't know what you're going to find, do you, when you go somewhere new? So it's always
funny experiences. Exactly. I remember when we were in Peru, we were in the main square. We had a little tour to go quad biking in Cusco, and we had to get to the office to pick up the little minivan to take us up there. So this guy in his little taxi had to get us to this office, and his clutch broke, and so we couldn't go anywhere. So he opens the bonnet of his car, gets a piece of string, ties it to something, threads it through to his hands, and he could start in second gear. But when he pushed the clutch in, he had to pull the string and change the gears with a string. And we're screaming in the back, going, "Yay!" every time he got it. And we got stuck in traffic. We go, "Oh no, they're going to hate us," because we had to start in second gear. And it was fantastic. And we gave him a tip just to buy some more string at the end of it. Gave him some money. Said, you don't need a jack in the car. You just need a bale of twine. And it was just adorable. It was really cute. You couldn't have done that if you had a nice Uber or something. But that's Peru. Crazy roads and crazy drivers. It was hilarious.
Well, I'll be getting to. I have not as yet been to South America, so I'm very much looking forward to that later on in the year. Now, I know you like going to lots. There's so many places in the world we can visit. We know that, and I'm a bit of the mind at the moment of wanting to go to new places as much as I can. But is there a destination that you would return to again and again, or have returned to again and again, Mandy?
There's one that we want to go back and even just live for 6 months or a few seasons, and that's Italy. But there's so many other places that are just begging our attention before that. I always say that there's a new favourite just around the corner. We're never ones, let's just go back to that hotel in Bali and just sit by the pool and do the same thing. And no, just we want new things all the time. And as much as Italy is just begging for us to come back, it just has to wait. It just has to wait. What a few more things to tick off, a few more wild adventures first. But we do want to go back there and just stay in an Airbnb or rent something for a few months and then just use it as a base and just head off to the different regions. I want to go all over, from top to bottom, Sardinia and Sicily and Puglia and all the way up to the Dolomites, isn't it? Yeah,
Dolomites, yeah.
Yeah, and the lakes. And I just love it. Just love it.
I might join you on that one as well, because I have to say that I'd like to spend a reasonable amount of time in Italy. I think there's just so much to do and see, and the food. Oh my God, I just have to. I'd have to be doing a little bit more exercise than I do at the minute if I lived there, I have to tell you.
And then you go to a restaurant and the nonna would just fill up your glass of wine to the absolute brim. Oh, bless. And then when I remember we were in Pisa and we had like a little bit of a education in a restaurant about different foods and wines, and they came along and poured a wine and said, this is the wine we drink before lunch. And I looked at my husband, it was like mic drop. I went, Trev, this is my kind of country. This is the drink that we have before lunch. Oh, love it. Look at this 5 o'clock in the afternoon business, not in Italy. It's great. Love it.
That's a great attitude. I love that as well. Now, what about, because you've been to a lot of places that other people necessarily haven't been to. You do go to some lesser known places. Where is somewhere that you would say is lesser known, maybe a bit off the radar, that you would recommend people consider visiting?
I had a good think about that because I started thinking about things that they can't miss. You know, everyone needs to see Antarctica in their lifetime, I hope. But that's not a remote. It is remote, but it's not a weird sort of place. So I would say like an off the beaten path one. I went to Mozambique last year, and I did a horse riding safari for 8 days on the beaches. And that was incredible. And it was a friend of mine just had asked me a few years ago, can you come horse riding with me? And I went, sure. And then it came up, very close to another holiday. I went, oh, sorry, Trev, I'm racking off. So I took Trev over to Africa and we did Kruger first together. And then my friend and I went to Mozambique, and Trevor went up to Normandy and did his World War II exploration while I was cantering along the beaches. And it was beautiful and it's cheap. But we didn't really get involved with Mozambique per se. You're not out there with the locals. We were sort of in a nice little house and taken care of by this family that had rescued these horses from Zimbabwe in the whole, when they had to relocate everything, all the farms and that. And they saved 104 horses and brought them up to Mozambique. So they've started a riding school and a riding holiday place. So that was sensational. And that was the most incredible sunrises on the ocean, and the tides would go out and you're just galloping along the hard sand. It was incredible. It was a pinch me moment. And we went snorkeling on these beautiful white sandy beaches. It was lovely. So I would definitely, and then other parts of Mozambique, they have the whale sharks as well. So you can go swimming with whale sharks. So worth an explore and worth the effort to get there, I think. And then it's only just next door to South Africa. It's easy peasy.
I was say, I think the only other people that I know that have been to Mozambique, actually friends of mine who live in South Africa, who will go because the beaches are nice. That they go up to Mozambique, but otherwise, that's an interesting one you brought up because even though I lived in Southern Africa for quite a few years, I've never been to Mozambique.
Yeah, so we're going again next year too.
Oh, really?
We're doing a cruise from Cape Town all the way around Africa and up to Mumbai and then across down to Singapore. So it's a massive trip. But we do call into Maputo, which is like, well, it's not exactly beaches, but it's still, Trevor gets to land his foot in another country, and so we can be even Steven with the amount of countries that we've been to now.
Oh, yeah. Can I ask you what the number is? Have you got
I think
the number?
we're in the 70s. By the end of next year, we'll be into the 70s. So we've got 3 big trips next year and 26 countries, and 13 of them are new, which is pretty cool. So it's very easy to do, different places, but still the same country. So we're ticking off. We're doing the 5 stands, and we're doing Turkey, and we're doing some just massive cruises too. It's going to be exciting.
Well, I might see you in. I'm hoping to get over to the 5 stands next. That's August actually next year. So
we're going in August.
I know we might see each other. That'd be funny.
Oh, that'd be God. Shut the gate.
Now, is there anywhere that you have been in all the time when you've been traveling where you felt more like a local than a tourist?
You'll love this. England.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Definitely. When you're a Commonwealth nation, it's so familiar and so homely, and we love the Brits. Trevor and I always pick up new British friends for our family. I call them my travel family tree, and they're just the best. They got the great sense of humour, and my husband just loves a Sunday roast. He loves Devonshire teas. He loves food that he can just eat with a fork. or he likes mushy food. Eat with a spoon. He's a fish and chips and mushy peas.
Mushy
He's a
peas,
Yorkshire pudding. Just puts the hand under on one cheek and then just eats with the fork, and that'd be great. He loves, and we love it. We do love England, and we love the countryside, and it always fascinates me how small England is. Of course, when you're in Australia, you drive for 3 days, in Western Australia, you're still in the same state. And over there's still so much space. It always amazes me that places that are so heavily populated still have so much beautiful countryside. And if you don't mind the narrow roads and you've got a bit of clout with your driving, I wouldn't necessarily having a 28-foot motorhome down the Cornish roads.
Oh, no.
That would become a one-way road, wouldn't it? You get stuck between the stone walls. But
That's
we loved it. I could easily live there and safely live there, and beautiful. And I even love, this. I love London. I love the cities too, as well as the countryside. And then of course my maiden name is Crawford, so I've got Scottish blood. Red hair.
I was going to say. I was literally about to say you have red hair. So your heritage is way back. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Scot. I found the ruins of Crawford Castle while we were there. It was very, very poignant moment, and old gravestones too. It was really cool. It was cool. That's the kind of stuff I like. I love going through cemeteries. Old cemeteries.
No, they're interesting. There's plenty of them in the UK as well to go and explore. That's for sure. Now, what about one destination that you haven't yet made it to? And I know you've got a lot of plans next year, so I'm guessing one of the destinations may feature next year. But what is the one place? Like for me, it's Churchill in Canada. I really want to go to Churchill in Canada and see the polar bears. So that's kind of my kind of elusive one that I want to go to. What about you?
My elusive thing is the Northern Lights. I'd have to say that's my elusive. So I'm really hoping, because we're going to be up there in Alaska in late September. I'm hoping just with what happens, it's just nature. Northern Lights happen all year round. It's just whether it's dark enough to see it. And but I follow this Aurora watch, and I get pings all the time, and I'm going, oh, bugger off, I can't see it. I'm in Australia, or I'm in Northern Australia. So, but I really pray to the weather gods that I want to see the Northern Lights. That would be, so that could be anywhere. We didn't see them in Svalbard. We didn't see them in Iceland. So we're hoping Alaska. Yeah, but yeah, that's my goal. That's the last thing on my. I had 5 things when I wrote down Kilimanjaro as number 1. So this was nearly 20 years ago that Kilimanjaro was number 1. Machu Picchu was number 2. So I did Machu Picchu for my 40th. No, did Machu Picchu for my 50th. I did Kilimanjaro for my 40th. So I'm doing Everest Base Camp for my 60th. So that's in 2 years. So my list was Kilimanjaro, Machu Picchu, the Northern Lights, swimming with a great white shark, and I think it was Everest Base Camp. So I've just a couple more to go.
Oh, well, you're getting there. You're doing really well on that, I have to say. Now, I know we chatted briefly before we started recording, and you're kind of famous for your many, many tips that you can provide for travellers. But what would be the number 1 tip that you would share? And I know this is really hard, but I've narrowed it down. You have? Well done.
Yep, I have. Come on, then. And we use it all the time. Is take a photo of your hotel, outside of your hotel, and take a photo of the document, so you can show a taxi driver where to get back to. So, and even if you take a photo of your documents, they may not be able to read English. Especially if you're in Asia, the languages are so different, but they'll recognize the outside of the building. So when we were in Japan last year, we were staying in a building that's famous because it's got a huge Godzilla on the side of the building. Yeah. So I didn't even bother taking the photo because I just said to the cab driver, Godzilla. He goes, so Godzilla. And we use the rapport that goes back and forth. I'm not taking the mickey out of him. It was just Godzilla building. Yes, got it. Take a photo of that. It's like, that's easy. Even if it's next to your hotel, you can get back. So, and likewise on a cruise ship, take a photo of the name of the port. Take a photo of your ship at the port. So if you're taking a public bus, you can get directions to get back. So I think that's a really powerful tip. Always screenshots, always photos on your phone.
Yeah, I love that. I don't do that, and I will be doing that from now on. That's
Yay!
Really good one. Thank you, Mandy.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I always love talking travel. We can talk travel till the cows come home, can't we?
Yes, yes, we can.
Over numerous cups of tea.
Oh, yeah, my cup of tea's gone cold. It was more important talking to you, Trace.
So's mine, but we can always go make another one.
We can go cheers.
But yeah, we will put a link into your website because there's still, I know you've got lots to write up.
I know, I've got to write Greece, I've got to write Switzerland, Prague, Kruger, Mozambique, and then we've got the next ones coming up. I'm going to be behind, but I gave my brain a rest at the end of last year, and I had to have surgery, so I had to catch up on a few things. Yeah, but these things.
Well, we'll put the link into your website anyway.
Yes, please.
Because you've got loads of information anyway from all the amazing places you've already visited. So
still lots and lots to read there.
Yeah, absolutely. But thanks so much, Mandy, for coming on. It's always so great to chat to you anyway, all the time.
Thanks, Tracy. It's been a joy. Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Stamped. A huge thank you to Mandy for sharing her travel stories and for reminding us all that adventure doesn't have an age limit. Be sure to check out her blog at spendingkidsinheritance.com for more inspiration and real-life travel stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review or leave us a message at SpeakPipe just to say hello, or, if you'd like to be in a future episode of Stamped, get in touch. We love to hear from you. You'll find the show notes and links to Mandy's previous episodes over at globaltravelplanning.com/episode 68. But that's it for this week. Until next time, happy global travel planning. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Global Travel Planning Podcast. For more details and links to everything we discussed today, check out the show notes at globaltravelplanning.com. Remember, if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on your favourite podcast app because your feedback helps us reach more travel enthusiasts just like you. Anyway, that leaves me to say, as always, happy global travel planning.